I guess so. Hello. Thank you. Great words, Peter. Peter Hernandez is from the neighboring county of mine. I'm Jeff Gorman. I'm running for Congress in CD 19. It's really sistered up with Peter's district. Like they carved out Watsonville and Castroville from the old District 20, and they did that because it's a community of interest, which is to say gerrymandered it, but community of interest for a Hispanic majority. So I am the congressional candidate representing the coast. My district does go into San Jose. It's about a quarter of San Jose, as well as, so that would include Evergreen, Evandale, Silver Creek, Almaden Valley. But then it goes down Santa Cruz, Monterey Peninsula, and all the way down the northern half of San Luis Obispo County. So it's kind of interesting. I had the opportunity to cross a large swath of the state during the campaign. It's been put a lot of miles on the truck, but it's been a lot of fun to represent the community. I'm really grateful for the CRA. We are starting a Monterey-based CRA chapter, so if you're interested, I would encourage you to call the Monterey County Republican Party. And I know this is getting live streamed, so I'm hoping that some people in that area will hear about this and call 831-324-0617 because we need CRA in the coast. The coastal community, as many people know, is heavily Democratic. So my pastor actually said, when I told him I was running, because I ran in 2020 against Leon Panetta's son, Jimmy Panetta, who's the incumbent congressman. Leon Panetta was Monica Lewinsky's boss. He was the first director of CIA for Obama. He's a man who I think has made some very severe mistakes and has yet to apologize for them. But when I talked to my pastor about it, and I told him I'm running again, he said, "You ever feel like you're hitting your head against a wall?" And I thought, yeah, I know that feeling. But I also, when I was a young man, I did some construction, and when you had to remove a masonry wall, and all you've got is a sledgehammer, you hit the wall. And the first shot doesn't do anything. Second shot maybe knocks some chips off. You keep going, you get a crack in the wall. And I view that we are up against a stronghold, a Democrat stronghold. They have a death grip on it. And we have to just keep pounding out for the truth. Peter reminded me of the consent of the governed. You know, I think the Democrats now, they have this view, the people in power, I don't mean the ordinary voter, the people in power, they have this view like we are their subjects. And we have to do what we're told to do. And I think we just need to rise up. We, the people, need to rise up. So the CRA is a critical thing. I see the quote, the conscience of the Republican Party, President Ronald Reagan. What happened to those days? Ronald Reagan was fantastic. He had a sense of humor, self-deprecating humor, and he spoke to this shining city on the hill. Who lights a candle and then puts a basket over it? Nobody, right? You want your little light to shine. So we were talking, Peter and I and Jack, we're talking about, and you, sir, we're talking about, you know, letting the truth out and speaking your mind and not being stifled. We have a cancel culture here that's out of control. So I'm very happy to be running for Congress in Congressional District 19 in Monterey Peninsula and this huge part of the Central Coast. It's a beautiful part of the world. It's truly God's country. And I don't mean that to dissuade anyone from thinking their part of the world is God's country. That's great. But I mean, it's among the most beautiful parts of the world I've ever been to, and I've traveled a little bit. But what's wrong is we have this oppression that we're facing. And so I think, I'm not sure, do I get to introduce Jack? Is that how this is going? Is it organized? No, so I'm going to pass the baton. So I'll just say a few flowery things about Jack Guerrero. I have a radio show I do every Saturday in the Monterey Bay area at 4 o'clock on 1460 AM. You can get it on the internet at the Jeff Gorman Show from any podcasting app. But back in, I guess it was early July, Jack and I got talking. It was a remote interview, and it was fantastic. Jack Guerrero is an amazing man that has earned his CPA, which is a professional designation. He understands keeping account of things, but he also has a moral compass and a decision-making that can take you where you want to go. He lives in a small town near Bell, which for long-standing Californians, you know, Bell had a horrible corruption problem 8 years ago. And it's classic. Like when one party gets control and they think they can do whatever they want, many of them will start to do whatever they want. And they'll pay themselves, $1.5 million a year. They'll sign themselves up for big fat pensions. They'll award contracts to their buddies. And we need someone like Jack to stand up for that. That is a state function. The state treasurer is a hugely important function. We have many great officers running right now. It's every 4 years we have the chance to elect a controller, a governor, secretary of state. So I'm really grateful for guys like Jack stepping up, Peter stepping up. And my view on what I'm doing is I'm running against Jimmy Panetta, but I'm running for, as Peter defined, limited government, a federal government that honors the 9th and 10th Amendment, that will devolve power back to the states, that will allow citizens their individual rights, like the first through fifth Bill of Rights are individual rights. And the Supreme Court has adjudicated them. The Second Amendment was the last one to finally get adjudicated. It's not about the militia. It's about your citizen's right to own firearms and to defend yourself. And, this is what the paranoid about ultra MAGA are worried about, the right to throw off tyranny. So when I see Joe Biden give that, whatever you call it, Emperor Palpatine speech with the blood red background and talking about his enemies like he's out of the Hunger Games. Do you guys remember Snow from Hunger Games? I mean, that's like what we're up against. We have got to start thinking we're in a war, and it's not, Lord help us that it's not a shooting war, but it is a spiritual war. It is a war of words, and the First Amendment defends our right to speak freely and to hammer it out and to hold the line on our words and on our message. And that is what I'm here to do, what Peter's here to do. Many people that know me would say I have the gift of the gab. I should run for Senate and run for filibuster, but be able to deploy the filibuster. I don't want to talk too long. I would just say the two big issues that I see out there, they're very complex, but inflation and crime, right? And under crime, you can say homelessness, and under inflation, you could say, well, energy, supply side issues like deliveries and ports. But the most basic thing is they've been printing money and paying people not to work. And for them to get, even Democrat treasurers for Bill Clinton have come out and said that's a formula for inflation. And lo and behold, so I have a background in economics. I could wax on about that. I'll just say, when it comes to inflation, don't think of it as we're at a 40-year high. Think of what's happening right now is an LBJ scale ramping up. The guns and butter campaign of the 60s. This idea that the government can solve all your problems is a ill-founded notion, and it's a road to disaster. So inflation is ramping up right now. It was ramping up. It was actually 60 years ago that it was ramping up the way it is now. And we've got to balance the budget, encourage domestic energy production, and stop paying people not to work, but rather empower employers to get people working. So that's on the inflation. On the homelessness, I will say drugs, I think, are the single biggest issue. A lot of people will mention mental illness, but the problem with mental illness is it's very difficult to separate drug addiction from mental illness, as I'm sure many of you have encountered in your personal lives, dealing with people that are on the wrong track. If people are interested in drugs, they're going to behave in ways that are insane. And we have to stop the flow of drugs in this country. And that is where I'm just America first all the way. I don't know if you mentioned it up here. I know when we were talking, you said America first many times. But secure the border is such a basic. I know friends that are police officers in Salinas in particular, but all over the state. And they are up against unbelievable problems. Sanctuary state policy is absolutely the wrong way to go. We have empowered the cartels. We have disempowered the police. And we need to, so one of my jobs, the way I see federal government is, at the federal level, we have the power to help states. We can't really hurt states. We're not, the federal government shouldn't be hurting states. If California wants to be a sanctuary state, okay. But do you know how much money comes from the federal government to the state of California? And I believe we should hold that over state authority and say, yeah, the Supreme Court said immigration policy is a federal issue, and we are telling you, you will help ICE, or you will get no money for roads, you'll get no money for schools, you'll get no money for, and you'll be amazed. If we really get serious about discipline at the federal level, the state will comply on immigration because it's hurting our cops. Every city councilman, every mayor knows. They talk to their police chief. They know that, like the one cop that's been murdered in 150 years in Salinas, killed by an illegal immigrant that was on probation. Wait a minute. He's an illegal immigrant that was adjudicated. Shouldn't he be out of the country? Well, no, because we're a sanctuary state. And one of my friends, I'm from the Monterey Peninsula area, neighboring high school. I went to the blue-collar Monterey High School. He went to Carmel High School. But I've met him a couple times. We have daughters. His daughter is 23 years old, was killed by a drunk driver on Highway 101. The guy was going the wrong way on Highway 101 near King City. Third DUI, kills the 23-year-old girl, Julia Lecce. And it's like, you can't fix that. There's no way you can fix that. But Lord help us, we can address it, right? So that's my hope, is to bring sanity back to the Central Coast, back to California. We have a Democrat stronghold here, but things aren't meant to last forever. 52 representatives go to the Congress from California. 100% of them are up right now. Allison is here, Peter, myself, and 49 other seats. Then we've got 80 assembly seats that are all up. Get to know your assembly candidate. I just got the wrap it up symbol. So I think I'm passing it to you, sir, and I wish I would have paid closer attention to your name, but it was Tom. Tom, come on up. I want to just say one more thing about Jack, and that's that Jack, at the California Republican Convention, where he earned and really earned it, it was not given to him. In fact, I would say the party insiders wanted a different guy. But Jack gave a tremendous speech about what's wrong and how he had known about what went wrong in Mexico, Latin American debt crisis, and that spoke to me because I have a background in knowing that stuff. Jack is a fantastic guy, so do him justice. Thank you, Tom.